How do you do, fellow Earthlings? Here's 8 lesser known sci-fi movies that you might not know about. Coherence is a 2013 movie about a dinner party that starts to delve into some alternate reality shenanigans. I don't want to say too much on this one plot-wise because part of the fun of it is kind of the untangling and the reveals of what's actually going on, but the characters slowly realize over the course of the film that something weird is afoot. And how the movie slowly builds that stuff out and reveals new details is really satisfying. It's really fun to watch, and perhaps more importantly, it's really fun to rewatch. I've seen this movie like 4 or 5 times now, and I think every single time I watch it, I notice other things that they have seeded or set up in the early parts of the movie that pay off much later, or in some cases pay off on repeat viewings. This is just really inventive, it's really creative, and it's mostly just a good script that is really thought about the ideas that it's tackling, and there's some little winks and nods and things that it plays to. But for the most part, it's just a really fun idea, and it really feels like just a group of people trying to make the best little movie they could. And also, it happens to star someone from the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Time Crimes is a 2007 Spanish movie, and as the title would suggest, it is a time travel film. And it's all about one married man who's just trying to spend a quiet Sunday afternoon watching birds in the nearby forest. But he very quickly gets wrapped up in a plot with danger, and time travel's an element of it. I don't really want to spoil much of this one, because this is also a puzzle movie. This is a movie that, as you start to figure things out, it arguably gets a little predictable in some ways, but it's predictable because it never betrays what it sets up. It never betrays its time travel rules. So even though you can kind of see some things coming, it's satisfying when they do because you've figured it out. So not only is the science fiction side pretty satisfying, but there's also a good bit of tension with a villain running around in bandages who almost turns it into a horror movie at points. So Time Crimes does come highly recommended, but it is definitely one that you want to go in as blind as possible. The Day the Earth Caught Fire is a 1961 British movie about the Earth spinning out of orbit and heating up because it's getting closer to the sun. Why is it doing this? Well, it's the 1960s, it's a Cold War movie, so it's nuclear bombs and nuclear testing, like a lot of movies of the era. What made this one stick out though, and what made it such a surprise when I watched it for the first time about 5 or so years ago, is that it's a little bit darker than you'd expect from a movie from the early 60s. It's got a little bit more of an edge to it, characters go to a darker place, they're a bit more scared of dying in a way that feels a bit more real than perhaps what you'd get from more of a glossy Hollywood movie of the same era. So that really stuck out to me, and I think it kind of held up in a way, and I was surprised that I hadn't heard more people talk about it as one of the classics, because it kind of feels like it belongs in those, you know, those pages with all those other movies. So yeah, I highly recommend The Day the Earth Caught Fire. The Vast of Night is a 2019 film set in a small town in the 1950s. The local radio station picks up a strange signal from outer space. And that's what it's about. It's about 2 characters investigating this signal and looking into whether or not it's ever happened before, interviewing people in the town. It really makes use of the town's landscape. It feels like a small town movie, which feels very old school and kind of appropriate for a movie set in the 50s. It has a very Twilight Zone kind of vibe as well. But I really like that it's all set in one night, and because these 2 characters get so excited about investigating it, you get that sense of rush, that sense of discovery with them as they go through. This one's an Amazon Prime movie. Unfortunately, it's not been released on anything else as of yet. You have to go and watch it on Amazon Prime, but it is there. It's well worth watching, so go have a look. Fantastic Voyage is a 1966 film about a crew of scientists who shrink down in a tiny ship and get injected into a human being to try and save their life. So this is an adventure movie. This is a movie that's almost like them going to a different planet in a spaceship, except the space, the planet, is the inside of a body, and it's like traveling through the bloodstream or trying to avoid the organs, the lungs, and try to get to the brain to inject something at this minuscule level. It's nonsense from a science perspective. This is not like a thinker. This is the complete opposite of a movie that's going to get your brain going. This is a little bit more turn your brain off science fiction, but it's fun. And I think if you want something that's a little bit cheesy, a little bit old school and colorful, it's a very colorful movie, like all the practical effects with what's supposed to be the inside of the body, which is effectively them getting a close-up of a lava lamp at points. It's fun. It's got a lot of charm to it, and I would recommend it. Plus, Donald Pleasence is in it, and Donald Pleasence is always worth seeing. God Told Me To is a 1976 film that is really difficult to actually describe. It's one that you should go in knowing very little about, and to be honest, I can't even tell you why it's science fiction without spoiling it. What I will say is that it starts off about a sniper in New York City who starts killing innocent people, and when he's asked why he did this, he simply says, God told me to. And the movie follows the detective who tries to investigate this crime, and it goes places. And not only does it go places, it takes like sharp left turns several times in the movie where you go, oh, that's what this is about now? The thing that I always say every time this movie comes up is that every time it takes a new direction, it commits to that new direction 100%. It doesn't just dip its toes in getting a little bit weird. It commits to it utterly and completely. So if you want kind of a what the F movie, then God Told Me To is a great fit for that. In Demon Seed, the house is controlled by a computer, an artificial intelligence created by the husband of the house, who's an engineer and scientist. But he's not here for most of the movie. Most of the film is actually the wife who is trapped in the house because the robot doesn't want to let her leave, and has some nefarious intentions for her, as the title of the film might imply. There's a few things that make this really cool. It's not a great movie. It's definitely flawed. It's definitely rough around the edges, and there's reasons why it's not talked about or brought up in the greatest movies of the 70s or anything like that. But it's always interesting. It's a little bit darker than you expect. It's a little bit edgier. And one of my favorite things about it is that the design of the robot, once it does have some kind of physical form, it's not a humanoid robot body. It's not some guy in a suit. It's truly different. It's truly like just a shape that a robot would make. There's some goofy elements to it for sure. Not all of it completely works, but I think it's a really fascinating movie. And if you've already seen all of the big robot movies or all the big artificial intelligence movies, then I think Demon Seed's a really good one to go and check out. You should watch The Blob, not the 1950s one with Steve McQueen, although you can watch that too, it's a fun enough movie of its time, but the 1988 version is a true gem. The effects in it are so much fun. They're still practical, it's still the 80s, but it's so much more gnarly. It's kind of like how the 1982 John Carpenter version of The Thing just pushed the envelope compared to the original version of The Thing. The Blob is a bit more one-to-one and does similar things, but it's so much more effective, and it's having way more fun. It's way more creative with how it can use its blob effects, for lack of a better word. It's goo, it's sludge, whatever you want to call it. And then on top of that, it's just a really funny movie. Like, it's basically a sci-fi comedy. There's lines that are laugh out loud funny, characters that were making me laugh, not to mention a few kind of surprising twists and turns about who the main characters are going to be. It's kind of a surprising film, and honestly, it's a shame that it kind of eluded me until I was like in my 30s, because I would have loved this movie if I grew up watching it. So yes, check out the 1988 version of The Blob. You can do the original well for homework if you like, but the 88 one's the one that I'm recommending. And that's my first batch of lesser known sci-fi movie recommendations. Please do let me know in the comments if you've seen any of these and what you think of them. And of course, you can look forward to more in the future. We've reviewed all of these movies on the Atomic Cinema Experiment, so if you want to hear feature-length reviews of all these movies, you can find them. I'll make sure there's a link to a couple of them at the end of the video. But otherwise, that is me. So thank you once again. Like, subscribe, all the usual YouTube things help out a bunch, and you can support us financially over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. So thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.